Hello, Don here, or if you're viewing from the forums, Creeper Cannibal. Today I'm going to be viewing or touring Behemoth 2, which is made to resemble Etho's Chocolate Island base. Behemoth 2 is a warehouse with a lot of machines that produce various resources and then send those resources to the warehouse. Currently, there are 32 items that are produced below and sent up to the warehouse. There are 2 more items that I could add to this list, and those would be snowballs and scoured leather. But there are 40 total resources that can be produced and sent to a chest somewhere. The other 6 resources I didn't mention were dyes, and that is because I haven't bothered, because the boxes would be too tall for me to reach. So in case you haven't noticed, this is a modded version of Beta 1.7.3. I have Better Than Wolves, P-Chan3's Airship mod, and Balkan's Weapon mod in, along with a couple of other features I added or backported from future versions of Better Than Wolves. Okay, so for the tour, we'll start off with the main mob evader. So as you see, the inner column here handles hostile mobs, while the outer column here handles animals and slimes. And you can hear the animals long before you can see them, so it's empty for right now. These columns here are where the mob loot comes from to go to the despawn timer, but currently I have everything diverted to the chests because the despawn timer is a waste. I have no need for it since loot can automatically be collected in here. So as you can see, they are currently filling up with loot. Except for bones, they're being sent below to various processing facilities, and I'll explain that in a moment. But yes, you can see gunpowder creepers, I believe, are set to go to lava right now. I believe that was, yeah, that was an arrow. Okay. So the despawn timer, based off of the one that Etho built, so if I were to set an item here. Okay, so the idea behind this is, loot shows up on this plate, and all loot that shows up afterwards, after the cobblestone arrives, is timed. And when the cobblestone despawns, you get a warning tone and blinking lights that indicate that all the loot that showed up after the cobblestone showed up is at risk of despawning. When it despawns or you collect it, you get a Zelda thing. But like I said, the feature is largely disabled. If I wanted to, I could switch it, and pistons and a trapdoor open up to allow the loot to head here. So this is the switch for hostile loot. This is a switch for passive loot. And only select items go here because of other features I've added in. Okay, so to get started with the warehouse. The warehouse itself has 408 slots, and those slots are composed of a dispenser and its respective chests, with exception to the items out on the corners here. So, 408 of them, and 381 are occupied because there are only 381 items and blocks in this version of the game total. So there are empty slots throughout the warehouse that you'll see. And I believe they're going to remain empty because I'm not really going to add any more content to this mod pack, so they'll just be left as is. As for the corners, they're basically for bulk material. They're themed, so this is the soft corner where the soft materials are. That corner down there is the hard corner where the hard materials are. That's the hell corner, so obsidian plus everything you can get from the nether. And then there's the hot and cold corner, which is the hot and cold blocks. Bricks and glass, which are produced with heat, and then ice and snow, which requires a cold biome. So, as I said, there's a couple of empty slots here, and you'll hear the popping sound as chests receive items throughout the warehouse. And the one you just heard was the one for leather. And yes, cobwebs are obtainable in this in my version. I added them as loot to dungeon chests, and I also brought back a feature whereby spiders can shoot webs at you. That is a feature from Better Than Wolves. That's like the post-difficulty version of Better Than Wolves. I added it in because I think it's cool. Oh yeah, that looks like the mills downstairs are hard at work. Okay, so halfway through, I'm going to go ahead and show you the control room. But before I do that, these are the locks for the doors. So as you notice, there are boats sitting on pressure plates down there. If I were to put water, the boats would float, the pressure plate would not have a boat on it, and these would close. So they would lock the control room. Okay, so stepping inside the control room, you can see that there are a couple of different stations here, and these stations send mobs to their respective locations. So this is the hostile side, this is the passive side, with the exception of the slimes, which are over there. So currently I have creepers and zombies they're set to go to lava, though I could send them to the kill system, or I could send them to the alternate route. Currently the alternate routes are not built, so if I did send them to the alternate route, they would be walking everywhere. They would just happily walk out of the mob system and cause me trouble. So I don't want that. Okay, so the spawner control panel is right here. So it controls the hostile spawning chambers below, and as you can see, there are a couple of settings. You can turn it off, spawn everything, only tulls or spiders, and I can explain those features more when I go downstairs. But there are 4 settings for it. Okay, much like the hostile side, the passive side also has kill route, alternate route, and lava route, as you can see. These are set up differently according to what I want the fail condition to be. Should something break, I want them to automatically be sent to something, or the control system upstairs. If I wanted to switch this, I'd have it set the creatures automatically to lava or the alternate route. And I can explain that more later. So everything, I believe, everything is set to kill except for wolves. They're going to lava. I don't need feathers, so I'm going to go ahead and send chickens straight to lava too. And slimes are set to kill. So this is the slime spawner control system. It's on or off. There's no special settings. The animal control system, however, has a short mobs only setting. Otherwise it's off or it's spawning everything, and I can explain those more when I go downstairs. This is a 5-way selection unit. So these units can select 3 different paths. These units could select 4 paths, but I would have to spend resources making light blocks so that they can use this and send a signal upwards. This one actually has it. I did invest, I believe. Oh no, I didn't. Okay. That's just sitting there. That's just a waste. Anyway. This unit goes with 5 different selections, so right now the default selection, the off selection, is selected. And of course, as I cycle through, a unique interaction will happen that can be utilized to send a signal down 4 different wires, and then there's the off route that has the cobblestone. I see, okay. If I had the light block, I think it would go 6 directions. Yeah, okay. I completely forgot about the light block, so this is a 6-way selector. If you count the cobblestone as a direction. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tour the other side. As you notice, these I have not changed anything about ores or how to obtain them, so I had to piston these up. So you might see a couple hanging around downstairs, as reserved should something blow these up. But as you see, everything has a space, including unobtainables. So I couldn't obtain those if I wanted to. I'd have to relocate the base and build it around those. Same for these. Sponges are obtainable as dungeon loot. They're still useless otherwise. But yes, everything, and I do mean everything, has a proper slot in here, and I still have room for more, should any future content be added. Okay, so before I go upstairs, I need to showcase one important feature that will clarify things later. So as you see, this dispenser has a single bone meal in it. And you may have noticed it sounded differently and a small white puff of smoke came out. Where did the bone meal go? The dispenser used the bone meal. The dispenser uses the bone meal on the space directly in front of it and the space directly underneath the spot that's in front of it. So, let me see here. If this is the dispenser, this is where the bone meal is used, with exception, well, not this slot, but this is where the bone meal is used, and this will help clarify any questions about some of the machines below you might see. more specifically the farms. I'm going to go ahead and sleep very quickly before I go upstairs, because there's lots to see, and I don't want it to be dark. Most of the spawn proofing upstairs consists of placing glass on top of sandstone, so it would be very dark. Okay, so I'm now going to go ahead and head upstairs where there's mob processing and item handling, loot handling from the mobs. So here we are. The trapdoor and the pistons you heard earlier for the despawn timer, that was these ones, and same for the other side. They will only accept gunpowder for the hostile side because gunpowder does not float in water. This side will only accept eggs because they're the same. They're the only passive loot that does not float in water. Items floating in water is a feature from Better Than Wolves called Hardcore Buoy. I had to bring it back to this version from a later version, along with the Hardcore Bellows Blowing, which allows me to separate bones from arrows. Okay, so here's the mob sorter. I have changed the size of mobs so that they can be sorted automatically. I understand it is completely possible to do so using their behaviors, but that requires the player to AFK inside of the sorter itself, and I'd rather it be fully automated. The idea of this place is you go around, you craft the things you need, and the machines just do their thing. You don't need to AFK. So skeletons are skinny enough for a hallway that's half a block wide. Creepers are skinny enough for a hallway occupied by a ladder, and zombies are too fat for both. So they go straight to their tube. Passives have not had their sizes changed with the exception of sheep. So that means sheep will now fit past ladders, but all other passives are sorted as you would usually. So this pig here, being too big for the ladder, is not going to go down the ladder. That would be where the wolves go. Instead, the pigs will go down the pig hole. Bye-bye. Okay, so after they go and get sorted, they go to the kill system, and then the kill system takes the items and sends it where they need to. So that route there would be straight to the storage box. However, their pork chops are going to go to the rendered cauldron downstairs that's going to turn them into tallow. And tallow is, of course, another item. It's useless in this version of Better Than Wolves, so I had to bring back candles, and you saw the candles. This is the killing system for mobs. It's consolidated because the hostile system is typically higher volume, and really I should have done the same for passives because their loot doesn't get sorted automatically every time. Sometimes the pigs find themselves in the chicken system, and then I find a box full of feathers and pork chops. Not very fun. So up there, all of that is to separate bones from arrows. What those bellows do is they blow the arrow away from the bone, and both the bone and arrow travel over a path of slow sand and water, and it's enough to separate everything out 100% of the time, so I don't need a full cauldron to filter out arrows. And that is, largely speaking, the top side of Behemoth 2. It's mostly just mob sorting and killing. There's another feature. So these hoppers send out signals. They do this when they're full. So if the chest fills up and the hopper fills up, it will send out a signal, and then the signal goes to a AND gate, depending on other conditions, and then the AND gate will shut down the respective mob farm. Currently, I have the selection units set up so that the first pulse they receive will send the mob to lava, and that is why they're set up the way they are. Now, as far as this system goes, it's not complete. I have yet to complete the feedback system that shuts down the farms. So if you run this thing long enough, eventually it will lag your game because the items will fill up the chests, the hoppers, and then the world. And then the save file will run very slowly. Okay, so time to head downstairs. Whoops. Oh, and there's the candles that I was talking about earlier that I added in. So, heading downstairs to this first floor. So, in the outside hallway area, by the way, each floor has the same layout. There's a hallway, a space, and then the mechanical room. The hallway has the control panels and a couple of other things. The space in between is usually meant for just redstone and the transportation pipes for the items. And then the inner room is the mechanical room, and that's where the farms and the distribution units go. So this is the first half of the despawn timer, the upper half. This houses the clock as well as the warning tone there. And there's the lower section that houses the Zelda theme. You'll get to see that in a moment. So, making my way around. This is the plank mill control panel. As you can see, you have a status light for the sapling. There's an alarm should something wrong happen. There is a unit or a button to control whether the farm is on or off, and then there's a clock for a dispenser. This ties back to the dispenser talk or the demonstration that I gave upstairs. Dispensers use bone meal, and if I were to clock this, it would start using bone meal and speed the farm up. And it might force a tree to grow, and you might see that blink. And if that doesn't happen, oh well. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to its regular on condition. So, it did happen, and it looks like an item fell in and probably stopped the system from blinking. That's fine, that's really not an issue. There's leftover planks, I see. Okay, that does happen. So this is the plank mill, obviously. It just grows a tree, and the tree gets cut by saws. And I'm only showing the mechanical room early, because it's kind of difficult to get to this area. I'm going to now turn the farm off to demonstrate the warning system. Okay, so when I turn this on, there's going to be a very brief moment where the system is on, but there's no sapling, and there will be a warning. So, if something were to happen while the system's on, that warning would just go on and on and on, and it's very loud and annoying, as it should be. I'll give you a longer demonstration of it. And that's what the warning system does. And you may hear it, because these, in case you didn't notice, these things tend to break down a couple of times. They'll break down, especially when fed bone meal, and currently this is set to be fed bone meal, so it might break. Okay, so this is the distribution panel. You're going to see lots of these. This is the one for the saplings that come out from the plank mill. Currently, I have them all go back to the plank mill, because if I send any percentage of them to the warehouse above, the system will lose, or the machine will lose all of its saplings and then turn off and then cry for help. And this distribution panel is for the planks from the plank mill. And they're set to be, they're 50-50 split between storage and the sawmill. A little note about these distribution panels and the units that they control. The units, I believe, have a throughput of about 60 items a minute. Turning any one of these off will bring that down by 15 items a minute. So, right now, this unit can only handle 30 items a minute because half of its routes are off. If you connect these to a very high volume system that produces more items that it can handle, it will just stop working. The hopper above will turn on, send out a redstone pulse, and then the entire thing will just start spitting out all of its items. So just a word of warning, a word of caution. Okay, so here's a spare coal block in case the creeper blows up the one in the warehouse. A couple more there too. So here's the lower end of those locks that I discussed earlier with the boats that float, that lock the room. And this is the mechanical room for the first layer. There's a lot going on. This is a log mill, much like the plank mill. It also has much of the same features, including a warning system that screams for help when it misbehaves. It does not receive bone meal, or currently isn't set to do so, because it screams for help a lot more than the plank mill does. This is one of the distribution units. As you see, one pulse per side. One turn, one pulse. Click, turn, click, turn. Okay. And the way these are controlled is a wire comes in and shuts off the monostable. and that prevents the torch from being pulsed. So if this is on, this whole thing just doesn't do its thing, and this does not do its thing, and then the item is not sent in that direction. So if we go delve in a little bit further here, most of this has to do with distribution and a little bit of processing, and there are only a few farms per layer because there's just so little space. So this is the plank mill. It was easier to get to than I thought. And this is a sugarcane farm. And it looks like it'll be harvesting sometime in the immediate future, but not right now. Okay, so if I could make my way back to the back door, I could get around to the other side there. So all of this is basically wiring for the distribution units. Not sure if I'm going to be able to make my way around here. Oh, okay. I gotta be careful, I don't want to accidentally turn anything off. It is a small nightmare to get through here, in case you haven't noticed. And we are back. Okay. Okay, so making my way around to this side now. This is the log mill control panel. And if you'll excuse me for a moment. There we are. Okay. Just a small technicality. Anyway, this is the log mill. Same features. Same everything. You can clock it. It will scream for help. It even has the on-off scream for help small glitch thing that the other mill has. And these are the distribution panels for bones. Not bone meal, bones. Because dispensers can't distribute bone meal because they use it. So the bones have to be sent to the machine or the millstone that feeds the machine. And like I said, no bones to the log mill because it misbehaves more. And bones to the plank mill. And these are, this is the panel for bones to some of the lower machines like the flour farm or the wheat farm or the dye system. Also, I may as well show how logs are collected because they cannot be shipped. I cannot figure out a way, or if I did, it would be too expensive to do so, to basically have something collect to the dispenser so it spits out its items and then everything gets sent on its way. And as you can see, this is how I collect them. I just come in here and collect them. And it is misbehaving. It should not be collecting saplings. Oh well. Okay, so now it is time for me to make my way around to the front because there's no more distribution panels or machines to look at. Though there is a nice undersea vista that you can see. Very pretty. We're now going to go to the next level. And I think I will take the elevator down. But it will continue going down because I do not have a floor selection system because that is expensive. It costs redstone, it costs space, it costs time to do, and I don't have any of those right now. So this is the lower half of the despawn timer. It houses a Zelda theme. And if we make our way to the left here, into this wing, you will see some more distribution panels. Well, distribution panel, I should say, and that would be the 4 cascades for the sawmill. Currently, the sawmill is cutting only sidings and moldings because corners and gears are produced extremely quickly. You get 16 gears per plank block, and you get 8 corners per plank block, and they fill up the chest very fast. And everything in there you will get to see in a moment. This is an 11 clock. It will speed up the sawmill. It will pulse all of the block dispensers in the sawmill every 11 seconds, or sorry, no, every 11 redstone ticks. And that timing is perfect for making block dispensers dispense blocks. So these are them. This is the sawmill. That's cascade 1. So planks go in, settings go out. Okay, for this one, cascade 2, planks go in, sidings go out. And for this lower unit, sidings go in, moldings go out. 1 plank, 2 sidings, 4 moldings, so on and so forth. This is cascade 3 over here, the one that makes corners. And this is cascade 4 here that makes gears. And let me see if I can make my way around. you'll get to see some more of this mechanical room. That's the spawners, passive spawner, that's on a lower level. You'll get to see more of that later. So if I make my way around here, this is the distribution unit for hemp. And let's see. It's very tangled mess back here. Condensing machines into a very restricted area is not the best of ideas, especially if you want to try and get around. I might have to try and get around through the panel over there. So I think that's what I'll do. So let me go ahead and make my way back out of the mechanical room door, which I believe is up here. No? Uh-oh. I appear to be lost in my own machine. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Alright, so I'll show some more machines later. This is to check what items can jump and air block with floating. So Hardcore Buoy allows some items like dyes to jump and air block, so the dye will go water, water, air, water, while other items like wood planks that float will go water, water, but they won't jump the gap to this upper area, and that's yet another way to filter items. This is a sugarcane control panel. The distribution unit is upstairs, so is the farm, but I have no room upstairs for the control unit, or the control panel, so it's down here. 50-50 to storage, 50-50 to the millstone. This is the control for the sugarcane farm. Right now it's a lever, but I will swap it out so that it can be automatically shut down by other machines, or by the storage unit when it fills up. This is a distribution unit for hemp. All hemp is set to go to the millstone, none to storage. It goes to the millstone, gets ground, goes up this tube as hemp fibers, and then goes to its respective storage box. This is the hemp farm control panel. So if I go back here, this is the hemp farm. 2 pistons, and the rest are block dispensers. And there's bellows below to blow the hemp and seeds into the water stream. So if I make my way back here, all of them are on. If I were to turn off the lights, I'm sure that would kill everything. I don't know why I had that feature. This stops the pistons from pushing the hemp, and this stops the block dispensers from collecting hemp. Why would I have different machines or different blocks? Pistons, when they push hemp, make seeds. Block dispensers, when they collect hemp, do not. That's it. That's the only reason I have. It's whether I want hemp seeds or not. As far as the mechanical room goes, the only other thing down here on this layer, besides distribution for various things in control and redstone, is the lower half of the plank mill, which is right here. Here it is. This is it. That's the dispenser for the plank mill, and these are the saws for it. So there's nothing else down here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make my way around to the front here. And the elevator is on the bottom floor waiting for me. So I'm now going to head downstairs to the next layer, which is the spawner layer. It does house a couple of machines, but mostly it's dedicated to the spawners. So these are the hostile spawning chambers, and in case you haven't noticed, their side is themed like a cave. So these spawning chambers have a piston below that pushes a slab up, but they also have pistons in the roof that push down, and a light block in the center, Better Than Wolves light block specifically. So there are a couple different settings, as you saw. Spiders or tall mobs only will activate this line of redstone underneath this cobblestone here, and that'll push up the slab, stopping spiders from spawning. Tall mobs only, spiders only will light up this redstone route, causing the pistons to push down, leaving no room for tall mobs to spawn. Off pushes these pistons down and turns these on. And that makes the chambers light up and creates no area for spawning. I believe it also lights up or activates the slabs from below. But that's it for the hostile chamber. Making our way over to the top side of the, and this is of course the hemp farm. Making our way over to the top side of the passive spawning system, you can see that there's block dispensers here, as well as water. And that is the sawmill that you saw earlier with the 4 cascades. So, it's pretty small. I didn't know how much space I would need, so I made it small. These dispensers will dispense slabs, or they'll dispense sidings, because sidings can sit from the roof, and that will prevent cows and sheep from spawning. And if I want to turn this machine off, then they would instead dispense a full block cobblestone, I think, and water comes out through the center, and that's just so I can have aesthetics. So the water shuts down these middle routes, and then the full block shuts down these routes with tall grass. Now, as for the only machines, here they are. Mushroom, and kelp. There's a kelp in there, and every so often this machine will force the piston to push the kelp, and the kelp will be sent on its way. And these detector blocks will see if a mushroom's grown, and then send it on its way. But that's it for machines on this layer. That's really it for this layer in general. So I'm going to go ahead and make my way back to the front. Because there is, in terms of machines, there's nothing else on this layer to look at. So let's go through here, down to the second to last layer. And that is the layer with the flower farm, the cactus farm, the wheat farm, and the distribution for all those things. And those are the slimes. Maybe you can see them. Oh, there it goes. End of the slime cutter to be cut down. Okay, this is the cactus farm. On, off, on, off, on. It will have a more sophisticated control system, but for now, it's just a simple lever. And let me go ahead and make my way in the outer hallway first, as is the standard. So, coming around to the front here, it's got to be carved out. As you can see, there are a couple of lapis blocks here, just in case the one on the surface gets blown up. I will also be using a couple of them in the floor for aesthetics later. So this is a distribution unit for flowers and roses. Half will go to a millstone, which goes to the cauldrons that are for wool and dyeing. The other half will go straight to storage. This is the wheat farm, as well as the seed distribution panel, control panel for the seeds from the wheat farm. I have it set up as is because if I send half-half to storage, eventually the farm runs out of seeds. Actually, let me just turn that off. I think I need to work on building up the seed storage in there, or the amount of seeds. So, that's all there is to this side. Just the distribution control panels and the small farm control panels. I'll make my way around to the back here, and you'll get to see the mechanical room for this layer. As you can see, not much on this side, but if we go through, here we are. So, you might be hearing the planting of seeds, and that's because this is the wheat farm. Whee, there they go. All it does is it pulses the wheat with bone meal, lets this water flow, and then the wheat and seeds are sent on their way. And this is the back end of the distribution control panel for, seeds. This is the flower control panel back end, and it goes to the distribution unit, and the distribution unit is over there. It's wired up accordingly. And if I were to make my way over here, once again, you see the cactus. And then if I go upstairs, you will see, actually, let me go ahead and turn it on. It burns through bone meal extremely quickly, so I'm just going to turn it on for a very short amount of time. Okay, now the rendering is not keeping up. So for some reason, Optifine does not like extremely busy areas, and it will just stop working. Now, if I remember how to get up there, you'll be able to see the machine doing its thing. No, this is not that route. Okay, so here we are. It uses bone meal, and then everything is sent on its way, and everything is sorted, and there are cauldrons that are full of seeds to filter out the different types of seeds for each route so I can control where they go. Let me go ahead and turn that off. And so those cauldrons are scattered all throughout, and I do have to occasionally go into them. So this is filtering out all the regular seeds from the hemp seed line. So only hemp seeds can go through. Other cauldrons do the opposite. They filter the hemp seeds out, so only regular seeds can go through. And that's really it for the mechanical room on this layer. That's also it for the outer hallway too. This is the distribution panel for the seeds from that farm, from that flower farm. And this is the distribution control panel for where the wheat goes. Half to flour, half to storage. Half to be milled in the millstone, and then half to storage. Okay, on to the final layer. Alright, this is the slime farm, as you saw. This is a slime cutter. It cuts all slimes down to the smallest size so that the tiny slimes can be sent up to the surface. And right now it's active, it's on. Though I'm too close for it to spawn anything. And it cuts out into the hallway, so it counts. If I make my way around. This is the tallow unit. It collects pork chops and cooks them into tallow, and this is the cauldron for it. And of course, if I wanted pork chops to automatically be sent to the storage box up top, I would stand in front of this, and then it would send a signal all the way up using the lens there, and the pistons would change the route. And that feature is on all of the cauldrons that handle wool as well, though it is wired differently. So this is the dung distribution panel. Dung to tanning is not done yet because the tanning unit isn't finished. I have to build it. So right now I can either send it to the dye pot, which is just a cauldron that has wool and dye. That's all. It's not a special block or anything. And then I could set it up to the warehouse above. And the dog box, where all the dog shit is buried somewhere inside of there. I could set up for them to be fed pork chops automatically, but that costs a lot of time and a lot of space and a lot of resources, and I have no idea how I'd fit it in. So this is the wool area. This is where wool goes, and it's distributed unevenly, unfortunately, no matter how hard I try, to various cauldrons. And these cauldrons do receive other items. So this receives cactus from the cactus farm. The red and yellow receive ground dye from their respective flower farms too. So quite a bit has been made. And then these all will do the exact same thing if I stand in front of it for a little bit. You'll see that it turned off. So the distribution route is now off. So wool will be sent anywhere but this pot. And what happens is when a cauldron gets full, items just sit on top of it. So after a certain amount of time, the circuit will see that and it will shut the route off. It will also turn it on, which is a bug, but I don't have space to really check. So I can't integrate that feature, and all of this is for the distribution of wool. So, in terms of machines, that's really it. There's the cactus distribution panel up ahead there that sends cactus. It's set to send it just to storage right now, I believe, right? Yeah, just to storage because the dye pot had a lot of dye in it. But that's it. So, for the outro, without further ado, we're going to go on a little elevator ride from the bottom to the top, all the way up. And you'll get to see the scale of this thing as seen through a slow elevator ride. So, briefly discuss, this machine took me, it's 2 years old now. It was built, first ground was broken November, I think, 9th, 2023, and I've worked on and off, and I would say if I condensed all that time into working on it, 24/7, it probably takes like 5 months to do. But it is worth it, I think. It doesn't provide resources extremely quickly. There are much more effective mob farms out there. However, for what it is, it's good enough, and I like it. I like it a lot. You can see kelp out there in the window there. But that's really it for Behemoth 2. If there's any questions or concerns that you may have, you can leave them in the comments below. The mod pack that I'm using for this is, it'll be found in the forum post that I'll link below in the description. But that's it. Thank you for your time.